All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 7 of the I Love Mondays podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Martin, aka, and I'm glad you guys are joining me today. I feel like I have a topic that I want to talk about this week that is good for anybody and everybody that's trying to do something, anything with themselves. Like I said, this is episode 7, so we've been moving along pretty well. I've been really on making sure these episodes are getting out on Mondays. I'm proud of myself. I hope you guys are gaining content. I hope if you've been listening week after week after week that you're getting something from this, because this is one of my new passions, like I've probably been saying for the past couple of weeks, and I'm excited. I get excited during the week to do this. And I think I said in the last episode that one of the hardest things about this is doing it once a week. So with that, I am currently thinking of, now please don't hold me to this if you're listening and you enjoy this show and you've been wanting more. I'm currently thinking of rebranding the podcast from the I Love Mondays podcast because I've noticed that I've been going in kind of sort of one direction, as not like the music group, but I've kind of been noticing that I'm going in one sort of direction as far as what my content is. At first, what I thought this podcast would be is a reseller podcast, but the more and more that I'm getting into it, I'm realizing that it's more so, I don't want to say a self-help, but I guess you could call it a self-reflection podcast, I guess you could say. So I'm noticing that that's more where I'm leaning towards with my content. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it more, because it's stuff that I want to talk about. It's more of my lane as far as because I am kind of sort of a writer, I guess you would call me. So when I write certain things like blogs or I've written a few books, whatever, there's 3. What I'm talking about in these podcasts are more so a reflection of me, and I get more excited about what I talk about. So I'm thinking of, my idea is, and if you follow me, if you're connecting with me, if you've been listening, can't tell who's listening every episode, who pops in here and there. I don't have names, so that doesn't help. But so I'm thinking of changing it from the I Love Mondays podcast to the I Love Myself podcast. And I'm not sure if that's what I want to do, but it's an idea that's floating around in my head. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I do decide to make the switch. So I just want to thank you guys for the people who are listening, who are getting something out of it, who are enjoying the content, because like I said, this is one of my new passions. I get excited about it, and if I do change the format, it won't be so structured. You won't get it on a certain day. It'll kind of just be whenever I can. It will be at least once a week, I can promise that. But it'll kind of be sort of after I record it and edit it and do whatever I'm gonna do, I'll get it out to you guys then, versus doing it every Monday. Maybe I may just keep it every Monday and change the name based off of the what do you call it, the topics that I'm discussing. Sorry, I had a little mental lapse of what I was trying to say. Like I said, I get excited about this during the weeks, and what's funny is that how I structure these things is I kind of sort of have a few things that a few topics that I want to talk about. Like I have a couple topics that, like, if nothing comes to me within a few days of maybe doing the podcast, then I kind of just go to I go to those topics that I have. So but what's been happening is, like, the last 2 weeks I've had 2 other topics that I wanted to talk about, and what has ended up happening is that I'll get another idea in my brain of a topic for the podcast, and then throughout a couple days, throughout the week, as I'm planning to record the next episode, stuff will just start popping up as far as, like, ideas and different things I could talk about based on that topic. So that's why I get so excited, because throughout the week I'm kind of sort of getting all the information that I want to put out there for each episode, for the next episode. So all throughout the week, it's on my mind, like, every single day, of what I actually am talking about. So let's get into this week's episode. The topic that I have written down, I don't know if I'll change it by time I put this up. And what I really kind of want to talk about is my topic is, you're great, you just don't know it. And so as most of you know, I've probably been talking about this for like the last 3 or 4 episodes. I really wanted to come into 2020 strong and with, like, a totally different mindset. Now, I'm not saying that I've been failing or haven't been living up to it. What I'm actually going to say is that I've been doing that, but I kind of underestimated how much work it would be just to change everything that I've known and been leaning on for the past 10 to 15 years. And you know what I mean? So it's really like, because when people make resolutions and goals to change certain things, I don't think people really take into account how much work goes into that change. I know I didn't. When I came into 2020, I knew that I was going to have a different mindset, but what I failed to do was calculate all the other things that will be affected by this different mindset. And like in last week's episode, I talked about how I was stopping the 30 for 30 project that I was doing, because when I started doing it, I kind of just realized that dream that I had 10 years ago is like, it's not who I am anymore. The funny thing is that when I decided that it wasn't what I wanted, it was based off of like the disappointment of feeling like no one would ever give me the opportunity to achieve that dream. The funny thing about that is, right after I put the last episode up saying how I didn't want to continue because of the response and non-response that I was getting from posting the songs, I got like an awesome message from somebody that I'm connected to on Instagram, and it was just like, that they love the music that I was posting. And the thing was that it was kind of bittersweet when I got that message, because on one hand, it was the exact thing that I was trying to get, just some feedback and just have people enjoy what I had built up over the past 15, 18 years when I was doing music, and I just wanted to share that, but it just felt like it was too late, because in my mind I had already had it as like, I'm not really into this, so I don't know. it's just like when I got the message, I felt defeated. Like, don't get me wrong, it was probably one of the best feelings in the world to see that someone else appreciated something that I created, but I still felt like it was like 10 years too late, So as the week progressed, though, I kept seeing like different things and interviews and videos from people who made it, and it almost felt like they were directly talking to me. Like, I was watching an interview with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, and they were promoting the new Bad Boys movie, which I need to go see. I probably won't go see it because I don't go to the movies. Like, who does that? But they were asked a question, and the question was, what was the worst advice you ever received as far as your career? And what Will Smith said hit me. He said, like, his mom was trying to get him to go to college, and he knew he didn't want to go to college, and he was like, so his dad came, and they gave him a year after high school, because he had already had records out at the time. He already had music out, and his album was about to come out, but it wasn't picking up the way he wanted it to. So his mom was like, no, you need to go to college. And I could relate to that, because that's what I was told when I got out of high school, like college. And I knew I didn't want, but I went anyway. Ended up failing because it's not what I wanted. But yeah, so I kind of felt that, because like that's what happened to me. It was like, yo, you need to go to college, and I wasn't like really doing music. I was kind of sort of like, okay, I knew I wanted to do something in business. That's what I knew. I knew that business was where I wanted to be. I was doing music. I kind of felt like I wanted to do something with it, but I didn't know what. At that time, there was no YouTube, there was no SoundCloud, there was none of these outlets to do music and really like build something that I could see. It was kind of like, yeah, maybe I could do something with it, maybe, but back to what I was saying about Will Smith, his dad convinced his mom to give him a year to pursue the music thing. And, within that year, he had won a Grammy, and album went platinum, I think, and all that. So, and he said, one of the things he said, he was like, you have to, when you're doing something, you have to believe without a doubt that you can make it to where you want to make it to. He said you can't depend on anybody else. You can't wait for anybody else. You can't expect anybody else to build you up. To build you up, you got to have that belief in yourself and build yourself up. And I was just like, wow, like that blew my mind, because I wish I would have had that opportunity when I was 18 to not go to college and really pursue what I wanted to do. Because when I look back on it, when I was 18, I knew that I wanted to do something in business. I just didn't know what. And now looking at the fact that I'm 34, going on 35 this year, I still am only interested in building businesses. Music has fell to the wayside, which, okay. And here's the thing about me doing music. What most people don't realize is I never, ever, ever wanted to do music. The story about the music is, when I was in high school, all of my friends rapped. I wasn't a rapper. I didn't want to be a rapper. I didn't really care about rapping. What happened was I wanted to be the person who owned the record label. So what I was trying to do was I wanted to pretty much, quote unquote, because we're in high school at the time, I wanted to sign the people that I wanted to sign my friends and build like this record label where we all work together and we build up a company. I was getting into producing and different things like that. Like I was the only person in in our high school. I was kind of like that. I think there was like one or two other people that were actually putting music on CDs at the time, because you really couldn't. It wasn't like it is now where every computer has a CD burner on it. There was no CD. You had to go. I remember it wasn't when I was in high school, but after high school, I had to go and take my computer, and it was my mom's computer, it wasn't even mine. I had to take the computer to someone to install a CD burner on the computer just to burn CDs. When I did it in high school, I used the school's computer, because I think they had Mac computers at the time. I can't, I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what computers they had because it was so long ago. But I just got blank CDs and took them to school to burn the CDs and stuff like that. And I did it. I had a class called multimedia where it was like we created album covers and promotional stuff. And it's like where I had learned Photoshop the year before because I went to Votech. Like I was saying, I had went to Votech in 11th grade, and I learned Photoshop and all different things like that. And then in 12th grade, I was taking like marketing classes, multimedia class, and that helped further me in like learning how to do graphics and marketing and stuff like that. So I was trying to build up a whole business, and when I look back at it, I'm like, I love doing music. But I never, at the core of what I got into music for, was for the business part. And you know what I mean? Like, I have to understand that I am a business guy. What excites me is business. And so, like I said, was saying about Will Smith, I wish I would have had that opportunity instead of being pressured into going to college, which I knew I didn't, because when I went to college right out of high school, it was the community college, and I failed like almost all of my classes because I didn't want to go to college. I did not. I didn't learn anything. The only thing that I got from going to college was I met somebody who became my friend, and we did music together and stuff like that. That's the only thing I really got from college. The first time I went, what happened was I went to college. I went right after high school, failed classes. I was working at the same time too, and I had become like a manager depending on where you live, there's a place called Wawa where I'm from, and it's a convenience store, but it's like one of those places that has a gas station. Now they make food and all types of stuff. So I became a manager there over that time. I had built myself up to be a great employee there, and I was learning about that business. So I wish I could have, looking back, I wish I would have just went and worked instead of going to school, because I would have learned so much more. I would have been able to take advantage of probably more opportunities and probably learn different things that I couldn't learn because I was still trying to go to school and follow somebody else's dream. And that's like how I got on the topic of, you're great, you just don't know it. What's funny is that, like, trying to get my thoughts together, I'm excited about this episode, and it's something that I feel strongly about. So I'm probably going to ramble, jump from topic to topic, try to come back. And, but, when you're trying to do something great, you've got to be able to have time to explore if that's something you love or not, if that's something you want to do or not. The problem with me doing music is that my whole time doing music, it's been a stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. So I never got the chance to fully see it out and like, is this something that I really wanted to do? And the answer is, finally I got the answer for trying to do that 30 for 30. And it's like, no, doing music is probably like someone who just likes to paint in their spare time. Like, that's what doing music for me is. I don't really do it anymore, but that's what something like doing music for me is. It's like something I can do to just express myself, and that's it. Like, I could put it out there for people to hear, but I don't need to be trying to pursue a career out of it, because at the core of what I did music for, I never even finished that story. Now that reminds me of where I was. Like I said, all my friends were rapping. I wanted to build a record label. So I started a record label called Instigator Records. And I was like having my friends, and I was trying to get them to come over to my house to record. I remember I bought like a $5 microphone from like Staples or Walmart or one of them places. I got my mom to buy me this program. It was called Magic's Music Studio, and that's how I started to, because like I said, my goal was to produce, put out music, promote to people, do all that, and no one took me seriously. Back in high school, none of my friends took me seriously, like, oh yeah, let's go, let's do this, because everybody had this dream of, oh, let's do it big, I'm gonna get signed, and like, I wanted to take the Jay-Z route, like, let's do it ourselves, make the money off of it, build it ourselves, then we can make money from it. And I didn't even know the full story of Jay-Z. That's just what I wanted, what I saw when I saw what I wanted to do. So since nobody took me seriously, I started doing music, because in my school, what would happen is, at like lunch and stuff like that, everybody would sit around the table and start rapping. So every now and then I would jump in. I'd have like a few lines that I had came up with, I thought was good, and like every so often I would jump in, but I wasn't what these real, people who really wanted to do it were. I was just a guy who did it for fun. So in order to try to build up the company that I wanted to then create, I started doing music myself. And so every day, this is 10th grade, I believe. 11th grade. 11th grade. I remember I was working at a supermarket called ShopRite, and with my money, I took a tape recorder, and the big tape recorders, not even like the handheld one, the big one. I took that, and I bought that, and I would take that on the bus to school. I'd take it to work, and I would literally have this tape recorder, and I would be recording other people rapping, myself rapping. I go home and be like, I had this, one of them keyboards, and you press the button and it plays a beat from the keyboard, one of those little hokey beats, and I would have that, and I was rapping over that, and like, I was doing whatever it took to realize my dream of having a record label, even if it took me starting to rap myself, since no one else took me seriously. And then I graduated from the tape recorder to, when I got the programs on the computer, I got my mom to buy me this music studio and a $5 little microphone that if like you made a wrong move, you could hear like the desk move and stuff like that. And I started recording like that. Then I got another program where it was like you can kind of sort of make beats, and I made a couple beats. I have a song actually that I made the beat, and one of my friends actually rapped over, and the beat was probably not that good, but it just, I can look back on it now, almost, what is it? I think that was 2001, if I'm not mistaken, that we recorded that song. I remember vividly because it was like New Year's Eve that my friend came over to my house and we recorded that song. That was, so it's probably like 19 years, I believe, because I think that was 2001 New Year's Eve. So about 18, 19 years. And then, I just kept building. And then I released albums like while I was in school and stuff. And my goal, and then when my friends saw that I was actually making real songs, and no matter how good or how bad they were, and putting them on CDs, that's when they started to take notice. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna go over, can I come over to your house and record and stuff like that? And then just me building it up myself made people aware of, okay, this guy really wants to do something. I mean, at the end of the day, it still didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, because they all wanted to do their own thing while I was trying to build something that we all could have done together. I still got some of the songs that we all did together in high school. So it's just funny to look back and seeing like what Will Smith said about his parents. Like, if I would have been able to take that time after high school and say, well, let me figure out what it really is that I want to do, I probably wouldn't have lost so much time, because I went to college and I did take classes for business in college, but I was wasting my time because I wanted to work. I rather would have worked, and I was working my butt. I was working 5 days a week, going to school full time, and I never complained about work, but I always complained about school. So, and then after that first year of school, I floundered because I was getting into relationships which were distracting me. I didn't have anybody to kind of guide me and help me to realize what it is that I really wanted to do. Like, when I talk about my music, and one of the reasons why I really couldn't take it up was because my family didn't support, because I come from a Christian family where they believe in God. They believe you shouldn't cuss, drink, party, they believe in all that. So when I was making music with cuss words, talking about this, that, and the other, I couldn't go to them for support. And then, I don't know if I've said it before, I know sometimes when I talk about music to people personally, I say, I had friends who, when I was doing music, like, I would play them songs and just sit there and wait for their opinion. And they never really gave me the emotion that I wanted to see. And it's not the emotion of, hey, that's great. It was always like, I wanted to be critiqued, and I wanted them to say, I don't really like this song. You missed that note on that song. You should have said this here. And I never got that. And I knew that I couldn't be great without having someone there that I trusted. See, I can go and just put music out there. I could have did that and got any random person to try to critique, and even just get another rapper or somebody to critique. I would always get positive feedback, and I think always getting positive feedback kind of hurt me, because I really thought I needed to grow. And that's another point with the title, You're Great, You Just Don't Know It. Now, what kills me is now when I look back when I listen back to the songs that I created, I realize I am a great songwriter. Just point blank period. I am a great songwriter. Back then, I did not know it. I had no idea how good of a songwriter I was. And I think part of it was because I didn't want to even be the artist doing it. I would have rather write songs for other people. And I have a few songs that I've written. I have a couple songs that I've written from one of my exes, and I'm upset because one of the songs that I don't have any record of anymore is a song from this guy who was my friend at a time. I don't talk to him anymore, but it was a song that we created together. I wrote the part of the chorus, hook, whatever you want to call it, for it, and I did the part for the hook, and he did the verses. And I mean, when people heard this song, they loved it, and I knew that song was great. I knew what I added to the song. I picked the beat for him to rap on because I knew what would go good with his voice. And I listen to his stuff now, as recent as I can remember, and he doesn't have somebody behind him who's saying, no, you're a great rapper, but you need to do this. And that's who I was trying to be for him. He was a great rapper, great lyricist, had the voice, had the look, had the charisma, all that. He just needed, the way that I saw him was, he's a great rapper who needed great beats. And I was trying to be there to help him pick the beats that I thought would fit best for his voice. Now, as an artist, I can say you don't always want somebody there to tell you, oh, this would be good for you. You kind of want to do it on your own, but sometimes that also holds you back. I wish I had somebody there for me, like me. Because then I probably would have realized, you're a great songwriter. Maybe you should go that route. I think that's what I needed. But also, with sticking with the topic, a lot of people are really good at things and don't know it because they don't have anybody. They don't have support. When you don't have support, all you're doing is you either have to have unrealistic, I guess I'll call it unrealistic confidence. You gotta have 150% confidence, because if you're not as confident, nobody else is gonna be. And that was my problem. I wasn't as confident because, like I said, I wasn't getting lots of feedback like I wanted. And I was just in denial because what I was doing wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be on the business side, but I was on the artist side, and I knew I could build the business up. I knew that. I knew I could produce and do all that stuff. I knew I could do that side, but I wasn't so sure about the music side that I was doing. Yeah. So, and another thing, like I said, as I've been preparing, I just been seeing things, and things have been coming up that I knew I could add to this podcast, this episode. I was on YouTube, and I do it often. I'll just be scrolling through YouTube when I'm bored or something, or just laying in bed, getting tired, ready to fall asleep, or about to get up. And I saw a video, and it was talking about Dr. Dre, and it was talking about why the Detox album never came out. And what they said about him was, he's searching for some unrealistic perfection. I remember Eminem in the video said about Dr. Dre, he said, I don't understand what he's looking for, but he's already great with what he has, but he's not accepting. He's looking for something that they don't think he'll ever find. And that's not the point that I'm trying to make. But what his wife said was, that Dr. Dre is a genius. And when you're dealing with a genius, you have to give them the opportunity to be the genius. Like, you have to let them work when they want to, not work when they want to, sleep when they want to, not sleep when they want to, not talk to you when they want to. And, to be able to, because I'm the same way. And that's why I identify with that statement, because I'm the same way. I like to work in the middle of the night, sleep in the afternoon, eat whenever I want to. And some days, people like my family and different people get mad because they'll text me or call me and I won't answer or something. And like yesterday, I got a text from my brother early in the morning. He's like, "Yo, you good?" I haven't talked to him in 2 weeks when I used to talk to him every day, every other day, whatever. And it's not because of me. It's because he would always hit me up. Because, like, for me, my mind is so clouded with things. And when I say clouded, I don't even mean in a bad way. I mean, my mind is on 10 different projects that I want to work on, as well as reselling, as well as being a dad and spending time with the family, all that stuff. And so when I get messages, when I get texts, I'll see them. And sometimes I get mad, like, please leave me alone. Even though these people, like my mom or my brother or whoever it may be, are just wanting to ask a question. And it's because I'm trying to be great at what I want to do. And distractions are just like, it throws me off track. Like when I say I got like 10 different things. I got my business I'm trying to build. I got probably 2 or 3 other businesses that I want to start but don't have the time to do those. But every day I constantly have ideas and thoughts about them and want to start them and want to work on them, but I can't, like I said, because the business that I already have takes up so much time and so much of my thought space. Then remember, I got to be a dad on top of that, and I got to deal with family members and different things when I have to deal with that. And then I have other just creative things that I want to work on. Like I'm trying to think in my mind, I have probably 3 different book ideas that I want to do. I already have, like, my wheel is already spinning for the next book I want to write. I have the title, I have the idea of what I want for the cover, I have topics that I want to talk about, I have the next book ready to be worked on, but I don't even have the time to start working on it because I have to get my business to a point where it's just flowing naturally. And now I can take an extra hour out of my day, an extra 2 hours out of my day to start working on other projects that aren't based off of money, because before I do anything, I have to make sure my money's right. And that's why when I think about Will Smith's thing that he said, his family gave him time to be at home with them and figure it out. Like now that I'm 34 and I have kids and bills and all that, I can't sit here and take time out of when I should be working to be creative. Like even doing this podcast, recording this for an hour is literally taking time from me working on my business. But this is something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I can't ignore, mentally. So I have to take that hour. Now, I also want to start writing my next book. So that's another hour a day that I may have to. And then I have about 2 to 3 2 to 3 books that I want to work on, and I have 2 to 3 movies that I want to start working on. And I've never done a movie before. I don't know how to write a movie. So now you're talking about taking time to write those while also do research on how to write those. And now what's on my mind, been on my mind, is one of my goals has always been to do stand-up comedy. And it's not like a goal to be a famous stand-up comic. Like, I haven't gotten that far to in my mind where like, hey, yeah, this is something that I want to do. I want to go on the road, because it's kind of sort of like music. Like, I don't want to leave. Like, my daughter, her birthday's tomorrow. I'm recording this on Saturday. Her birthday's tomorrow on Sunday. I'm recording it on Saturday because her birthday party's tomorrow. But she'll be 5 tomorrow. And it's like, my daughter is my heart. Like, my sons, you know, there's issues with that, you know, the personal issues where, you know, sometimes I gotta fight to see them with their moms, you know, different things like that. But my daughter is constant. That's, you know, I see her every day, you know, and she is my heart, you know, and I don't think I could leave her. She's 5 years old, and I've only not been in the same house with her maybe 1 day, 1 or 2 days out of her entire life. In 5 years, 1 or 2 days where I haven't seen her. And that's because that's personal issues. So thinking back, like, oh, could I travel? Could I do it? It's just like, when I realized music, like, that's just not who I am anymore. I don't want to. But talking about doing stand-up comedy, I just want to try it because, I mean, it's something I love watching, stand-up comedies. I think I'm funny just in everyday life. And just like I'm saying with my books and different things, I have, my wheels are turning. I just started, it's been about, I'll say 5 years. It probably hasn't been that long since I've really started coming up with jokes in my head, but I'll say 5 years because, you know, as far as I can remember, that's probably when that bug got in, like, oh, maybe I want to do stand-up comedy. But within the past 6 months, not even, within the past month, I've really been getting that feeling of like, yo, this is a possibility. You could be good at this. You could be, and now I'm thinking like, I could be great at this, because some of the jokes that I've been coming up with are like, oh my God, this is fucking funny. And I'm not full of myself at all. You hear me say how I didn't know I was so good at, songwriting when I was doing it. I just looking back, I'm like, yo, I was really good at that. Like, even before YouTube was YouTube, I had started a show, because my old name was Weezy McNasty when I was doing music. I had created a show called The Weezy McNasty Show, and it was kind of like the Chappelle Show. And I don't remember what year the Chappelle Show started, but I was doing this in 2004-ish, 2004, 2005-ish. And I don't know if the Chappelle Show was out at that same time, or if I even knew, because I didn't know about the Chappelle Show the first season. I caught on to the Chappelle Show the second season. That's when I started watching, because it's not like it is now where you can go online and people like, yo, check this out, and like you had to know somebody who had seen it and then be like, yo, check this out. So I did this, and I still have all the videos that I created, but I started a sketch comedy show, and now even looking back on that, I'm like, yo, that was so good. That was so good. And like, I look at the people on Instagram now, and they're pretty much doing everything that I was doing back then, but now they have the technology to take it further, because we didn't have camera phones and all that. I don't even remember how I recorded. I guess it was a camcorder I must have had, and I was editing it because we had SD cards back then, so I was using a camcorder and then taking an SD card to my laptop. And I don't even, now looking back, I'm like, yo, that was so good. Like, some of the skits I did they weren't even planned. It was just like, okay, I got this idea. We're gonna do this. Like, I did a skit about how there was never a black champion in pro wrestling, which now, if you watch wrestling, last year they did a whole big thing about, now crowning the first ever black WWE champion or whatever. But I did a whole skit about this back in 2004, 2005. So I was so observant then. And when all this was happening, on TV last year, I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I did a whole skit on this. I could have probably released that skit, last year, because like I said, I still have the video of it, but it looks so old. It was so low budget. It was just done in a living room. You could hear like my cousin's daughter laughing in the background. But yeah, like even that, like, and I didn't know how. I knew that it was good because, anybody who saw it cracked up laughing. Like, that's something that I knew was good. But like I said, I got into relationships and different things. But now, going back to talking about doing stand-up, like, I literally have, and I was just going through this the past 3 days. It's really been on my mind, and I've been going through like a whole routine in my head. And I believe, like I started looking up. The funny thing is, I've been looking up like local open mics, so I can just at least one time go and try it. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Whatever. So, and I looked up, and they are only giving people, for like open mics to go and try it out, different things like that. I think the longest that I've seen is the one, and I think that's in New York. It gives you like 10 minutes to try out your material. And most of them said 5 minutes. I think I even saw one that said 3 minutes. I literally probably have 15 to 20 minutes in material. And I still have other jokes that I have ideas to, and I would have to flesh them out. I literally just last night in the middle, when I first got up, I played my whole beginning set, once because I have the joke for when you get up there and you say, hey, my name is this and this and that, and then you go into your joke. I have my whole setup, and I probably have about 10 minutes just from the first joke, and there's probably about 10 to 15 little jokes in there. And like I said, I probably have 15 to 20 minutes just in the jokes that I have. I probably can extend that to 30 minutes just in the idea of jokes that I have. And comedians, when they do specials on Netflix, their specials are an hour long. So I'm probably, and I already know that some of the jokes that I have might not work once you get, in front of people, because when you work on jokes, you see, okay, I said this joke, they laughed, they didn't laugh at that one, so I can't do this one and that one. I know that my first little probably 7 to 8 minutes are really, I think they're really funny. And I'm very critical of myself. I think they're a little bit edgy, and people may not want to hear them, but that's what comedy is. So, I'm trying to stay on the topic of, talking about how people are great and they just don't know it. They don't have the opportunity. They don't have the people behind them to say, yeah, that's good. Yeah, you should try this. Yeah, I'm going to support you while you try this because I believe in what you can do and I know you. And if you put your mind to it, you can do something. And I think that anybody who's creative, even not creative, anybody who has a business idea, sometimes you have a great idea and you just don't know it. Like if you follow me on Instagram, I've posted about it before, how I had an idea for Uber Eats, not Uber, but I had an idea for Uber Eats, Grubhub, I can't think of the other one, what is the other one? There's Grubhub, there's Uber Eats, and there's one more. I can't think of it. But that type of business where people deliver you food, I had that probably 10 to 15 years ago. And what happened was, years ago, it's probably 15 years ago, when I used to go to New York all the time, not all the time, but I would go often. I was in Times Square and I realized that McDonald's delivered in Times Square. They had a thing that said McDonald's delivered. And it wasn't 15 years ago that I came up there, but I always remembered that. And I was always like, man, why doesn't McDonald's deliver? So about probably I'll say 10 years ago, I was just driving around, and I may have told this story before, I'm not sure, but I was just driving around and I was like, man, I could probably make some money if I start a business delivering fast food to people. And I had the idea, I said, I could start a website. What I would do was, every so often, I would go to McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, write down their whole menu. I knew how to make websites, so I said I'll start a website. I'll put their whole menu on the website with the same prices that they charge at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever, and I will charge them a delivery fee. I'll charge them to deliver. I'll put a delivery fee on whatever they want. And I was like, they would pay me for the food. I'd go pick it up and then I'd deliver it to them just locally. And this was 10 years ago. I had this idea. And then I was like, oh, that's stupid. That'll never work. You know, I think I told maybe one or two people. And now I look at Uber Eats and Grubhub, and it's the same exact idea that I had. And I could be a millionaire, multi-millionaire right now if I would have took that idea and expanded on it. See, the problem with, when I think about something like that, the problem with people nowadays is, especially people who come from, I was going to say black people, but I'll say especially people who come from low income families, you don't get the chance to explore creative ideas that are not the norm. What happens is your parents have a dream that you go to college, you get a job, you live a decent life. That's the idea. And parents who didn't go to college, the dream for their kids is to go to college. That's it. But what low income people don't know, that the people with money know, is that you have to give a person a chance to find themselves before you try to make them do something. When rich kids go to college, they don't go to college to really, you know, I don't want to say they don't, because some do, but a lot of the times when rich people send their kids to college for the experience to find themselves and all that. Low income people send their kids to college to get an education and get a job to then start the cycle all over again. Think about, what was that movie, Van Wilder or something like that, where he had been in school like 6 or 7 years, still trying to find himself. And then what was it? His parents was going to cut him off because he had been at school too long. And then he had to find himself, and how he found himself was having that pressure to, okay, I need to figure out how I can stay in school because this is what I love. And that's how he ended up finding himself. You know, coming from low income families, you do not get the opportunity to find yourself. That's why I say you're great. You just don't know it because you don't have the opportunity to find it out. You don't get a chance to test the waters in different things. Like, why do you think a lot of these basketball players are great at basketball? Because they found something they love when they were young, and they kept building upon it year after year after year. But not everybody's meant to dribble a ball or throw a pass. I can attest to that. I am a skinny kid who does not want, I played football, but I was scared to get hit. I didn't start playing football when I was 5 or 6 like everybody else that I know. My family wanted to make me start football when I was 12 years old. And I'm this skinny kid. Everybody who's in my age group, I'm soaking wet 80, 90 pounds. Everybody else in my age group is 120, 130. So you really think that I wanted to go play football? I loved basketball. I wasn't allowed to play basketball because my grades weren't good, but my grades weren't good because I didn't feel challenged. Like, I remember when I was in high school, one of my teachers told me that I was either going to be a genius or be crazy. It's funny because I look at some people and they're like, my teacher said I would never make it. No, the one teacher that truly believed in me didn't let me fail her class. And I feel like I talked about this in a different episode, but she literally told me, she said, you're going to either be crazy or you're going to be a genius. Now, I'm not crazy yet. I don't think I'm crazy yet. And she told me, it's funny because she told me, this was 10th grade, I believe. Yeah, 10th grade. She looked at me, she said, I don't understand why you're so bent on failing this class. She said, you're smart enough you're probably the smartest person in the class, but this is something that my teacher told me. She said, I'm not going to let you fail this class because I understand that you're trying to fail the class. And I don't know, I was 16 at the time, 15 at the time. And I just, like I said, I just didn't feel challenged. Like, I knew I was really, really smart. I've always known I was smart. But one of the things I always say is I never wanted to do homework. That was just given. I never wanted to do anything outside of the classroom for class. I'm like that now with my kids. Like, my son, he was in 1st, 2nd grade having homework. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is 1st and 2nd grade. Kids don't need to be going home doing homework. And what killed me with that situation was, I had my son Monday through Friday, but Monday through Friday was spent doing homework because he was like me and he didn't want to do homework. So I felt like a hypocrite because I was yelling at him like, yo, you got to do your homework. When I was a kid, I didn't do homework. And so it put a strain on, the time I got to spend with him, because then on the weekends he went with his mom and he played video games all weekend. So it was like I was the bad cop, she was the good cop, even though I had him all week long and I was taking care of him and I was doing everything and I was talking to the teachers when he was acting up and all that. But then when he went to her house, it was like, oh, free for all. But getting back on track, like, it's crazy that my 10th grade English teacher believed in me more than the people that were closest to me. She literally said, I'm not going to let you fail because I know that you're one of the smartest people in the class, but something's going on with you. And I didn't know at that point what was going on with me, and I still can't even say, okay, well, this was happening. I don't know. I know that I didn't feel challenged at the time. I knew that I was smarter than everybody else in the class. I probably should have been taking honors classes, but I was taking college classes, and I really didn't. College was just a fantasy to me. After like 9th grade, when I failed English, I kind of realized that college wasn't an option for me. And I failed English because I didn't believe half of the stuff they were teaching me. I didn't care about Shakespeare and all these books. I didn't care about none of that. I could write a great paper. I could do a great speech. I can pass the test, all that stuff. I passed the test without studying. I never studied in high school, ever. I never studied. I remember, I don't know if I think it was like 9th grade, and I was failing like a few different classes, and they sat down with my mom in a meeting, and they said, Chris is really smart. He just doesn't apply himself. All the teachers collectively said the same exact thing. Chris is one of the smartest people in my class. A, he doesn't do homework. And B, he just doesn't apply himself to want to get good grades. They would say he always answers the questions right when he's asked. He passed the test. But when it comes to doing projects and homework, I didn't do it. And that's because, I always say this. I was raising myself. I was raising myself when I was in high school, because literally, when I was in like 9th, 10th grade, I remember my mom would take me to school. 11th and 12th, I can't remember. I know she did sometimes, but after school, like when I say I would go home and just do music all day, no one was home when I got home from school till like 9, 10 o'clock at night, because my mom was working 2 jobs. And I always said to my family, I'm like, you guys should give me more credit, because I was home by myself every day and I never got in trouble. Never got in trouble. Like literally, I look at other kids whose some of their parents were home, and they were out till 8, 9 o'clock at night. But me, I had all the freedom in the world, but I never got in trouble. I was always home unless I was on the computer. You know what I mean? So it's like, I believe that that's one of the problems why I didn't get to the level that I should be at. And people say you shouldn't say you should be somewhere by now. No, you should say you should be somewhere by now, but you shouldn't dwell on it. Like saying, hey, I should be a multi-millionaire by now because I had an idea for Uber. That's something that I need to keep in the back of my head for next time that I have an idea. Like now when I'm saying, oh, I really want to try stand-up comedy, I got to remember like, yo, you had this idea that came true for somebody else, but you came up with it a long time ago and they just recently came up with it. And now they're winning and you're not. So why now, when you feel like, oh, I want to do stand-up comedy, why wouldn't you at least pursue it a little bit to see if it's something that you want to do? Just like me doing this podcast. I'm not getting great amount of listeners, but it's something that I feel passionate about and I enjoy doing and I'm excited to do. So why not give it some time to grow? I said it before that I've been watching different people and I'm starting to study podcasts more to figure out how I can make this grow. And I saw some people say it took them 5 years for their podcast to get from 1,000 to like 10,000. And I ain't nowhere near 1,000. I ain't nowhere near 100 listeners. But if this is something that I love, and it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I'm excited about, and it's something that I feel like I'm good at, I mean, I'm getting better with every episode because I'm learning how to make the episodes better. It's something that I should take the time to figure out if I really love it and if I'm great at it. Because at this point in time in life, once you get in your 30s, you really should only be doing stuff you're great at. I'm great at business. That's why I spend the most time, and it's how I make my money. Music, I'm not passionate about anymore. Like one of my aunts, my aunt who lives in New York, every time she sees me, which is, a good amount of times because she comes down almost every other week to see my grandma. But I don't always see her when she does come down. But every time I see her, she always asks me about music. Every time I see somebody, and these are like people who are older than me that knew that I do music, they always say, so how's music going? And I always say I don't do it no more. Even people from high school, you still doing music? No, I don't do it no more. I'm just not passionate about it. I just don't have that fire inside to want to do it every day. But this podcast, I get excited every week. The stand-up comedy now in my brain, I'm like, I have to try this because I think I could be great at it. And so with saying all that, I know I really just went off, and I hope that if you're listening to this, you really understand what I'm trying to say with all this. Is like, if you have a passion for something and you feel like you're good at something, you need to take the time for yourself. Don't take the time to try to get someone else to tell you that you're great at it. Don't try to take the time to get someone else to tell you to do it or not do it. If you have a love for it, if you have a passion for it, if you have a drive for it, you should take the time to realize if you are great at it. Because people who are great at things are the ones who succeed. And if you take that time to appreciate the talent, to appreciate the art, to appreciate the business, if that's what it is, you need to take the time for yourself. Like Will Smith said, you have to believe it for yourself. You have to build it up for yourself. You have to know that you're great no matter what. No matter if people are listening to your songs or podcasts or watching your videos or reading your books or buying from your store or whatever. Even though it's not happening right now, if you keep that belief of what you see in your mind that you want to do, you have to keep that belief for yourself, and you have to keep going. Because like I said, I was giving up on sharing my music. And as soon as I gave up, I got a comment and a message that I was looking for. Now, maybe if I would have waited and said, I'm going to give it another week just to see, maybe if I would have gave it another week before I said, you know what, I'm done, and then I would have got that comment while I was still posting, maybe I would have still had the passion to share. And I have decided that I am going to share the music that I was planning on sharing. Because in my mind, I'm like, I need to get rid of this music. I need to get rid of this feeling that I want to share it. Because no matter what, I'm always going to have that feeling like, oh man, I need to share this music with somebody so somebody listen. So I want to do it in a creative way that I'm satisfied with. That was another part of it, was that I'm not satisfied in the way that I'm sharing it. I am more creative than just posting a song up, writing something out, and that's it. I think I want to do videos explaining the song and different things like that. So I think I'm going to take a step back, and I think I also just want to, instead of doing it every day for 30 days, I think I just want to release it all at the same time. It's out there. That's it. I don't need to do it every day. I thought doing it every day would be fun, but it wasn't fun for me. So, yeah. So So what I want, if you're listening to this and you've listened all the way through, and I thank you for listening all the way through, because I know I got on a rant, but what I want is for, if you're listening to this and you think you're great at something, you think you're good at something, I think you need to take that time, maybe even step away from people for a while to work on it and develop it. Take that time to figure it out for yourself, not for nobody else, not for listens, not for likes, not for clicks, not for views. Figure out if this is something that you want to do, because think about all the people that are doing stuff, even like look at these Instagram models and different things, and they're half naked on Instagram, and you got to realize a lot of these people probably hate doing that. They probably hate having to show half of their bodies to strange people. I won't even just say strange men, to strange people. They probably hate it, but it probably brings them money. Like, I look at that and like, I don't want to do something that I hate. I don't want to do something that I don't like. I want to do something that I'm good at, I have a passion for, and I believe that I can take it to a level that maybe I make money from it, or even if not, like I may in the future do music just as a hobby and release the songs not expecting anything from it. And that's what I want to do now. I just want to release music not expecting anything from it. So like I said, if you're listening to this and you've listened all the way through, listen through my whole rant about different things, what I hope is that you take the time for whatever it is, whether it's a business, whether it's art, whether it's whatever, sports, whatever, take the time to figure out for yourself, is this something I'm great at? Is this something I love? Am I really that good at it, in my own opinion? Because like I said, the thing that hurt me with music is my own opinion was my downfall. But maybe if I would have took the time to step back and listen and really examine what I was doing, maybe I would have, said, yo, I'm really good at this songwriting thing. Maybe I don't like performing, and maybe I don't like trying to be an artist, but I'm really good at this songwriting thing. So if you have something that you're passionate about, that you love, and that there's a potential for you to build up to make some money from it one day, whether it's 5-10 years down the road, shoot, you may want to be an actor. You may be in your 30s like, man, I can't be an actor. Man, some actors don't pop till they're 50. Some comedians don't pop till they're 50. So if you have something that you love, passionate about, want to explore, I say this is the time now to study it, to work on it, to hone your craft, whatever it is, and explore it. I'm just going to leave y'all with that, because that's what I wanted to really get out of this. I want to say, if you have a passion for something, you're great, you just don't know it yet. So take the time to figure it out, how to be great. I'm just going to end it right there on a calm note. I love you guys. I thank you for listening. If you want to get in contact with me, this is your first time hearing me, you can catch me on Instagram. My name is Christopher Martin, aka. You can email me, ChristopherMartin, aka @gmail.com. Can't wait to share more things with you guys next week. I hope you got some value. Hope you got some gems out of this. Hope you got some encouragement, and it gets you to want to explore whatever it is that you want to find. Until the next episode, I thank you guys for listening, and thank you. I'm just going to end it right there.